A very pleasant good afternoon as we welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show on Facebook Live. We'll be with the radio folks here in Center County in mere minutes, or actually about less than a minute. And lots to get into today. Penn State coming off a fairly unimpressive win over Indiana, but up one spot in the AP rankings. Of course, the first official rankings are out tonight for the bowl games. Is on the radio now. We welcome you into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube, our home in State College on this Halloween day, dear Goon. And good costume, man. Goon coming as Frankenstein, obviously. Well done.
Yep.
I, of course, going as Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. For those of you watching, you can see the costumes. We both spent a lot of time. I'm going as Penn State wrestling fan, Brad Pitt.
There you go.
Clearly.
I'm going as a new radio host because I haven't done this in 12 days.
What?
Yeah.
So lots that we'll get into. We'll also talk some Halloween, trick-or-treating, and all of that good stuff as well. Favorite candies. Candy corn, dear Goon, yay or nay?
I'm a yay.
I'm a big yay. Scott Kesey was very anti-candy corn on our morning show today. Now, I will say, and it is kind of funny, there's just certain things that I guess, like, it needs to be the right time of year. Like, I love pork and sauerkraut, but outside of New Year's, no, I mean, if somebody offered it, would I eat it? Yeah, but it's not, like, I never go out looking for pork and sauerkraut. Well, that's for sure. Day. Yeah, for sure.
I got a candy corn story for you.
Yeah.
I'm out in Chicago a couple years ago when we were doing our little COVID trip to get the hell out of Dodge.
Yeah.
We went to Chicago. My buddy was there, and his wife had their decorations up already. So I reached in and grabbed a handful of candy corn, and I ate it, and I was like, they were pretty hard and stuff like that. But I got them down, and she's like, they're like 8 years old. They go into the storage, and she was like, we all hate candy corn. So it just goes into the storage every year, and I'm like, well, hell, it still doesn't. It tastes good.
That's just a determined effort by the Goon.
Absolutely.
That's why we love the dear Goon.
And she says, "Oh my God, those are 8 years old." I said, "Oh, okay." I had another scoopful.
Well, when I was a kid, I really did not want to ever offend anybody. And you know how when you go to sometimes your grandparents' house or an aunt or uncle's house, like there's just a different smell to the place, and not bad. It's just different than what you're used to. Or there's certain foods that for whatever reason they just taste a little different. We went to my grandfather's house in it was an apartment in Pittsburgh one time, and I think we were having, I don't know, breakfast, I think it was. And it's like, you want some milk with that? I'm like, yeah. I take a couple of sips, and I'm like, it's funny tasting milk. I don't want to offend her. So I drank it. About a minute after I finish, somebody else at the table takes it. So they're like, oh, my God, this milk is sour. I'm like, well, I thought it tasted a little funny. So, drank a glass of sour milk with, I don't remember now, breakfast or dinner.
Or grandma tried to give you the hard candies, and they were all like, there was like 80 pieces, but they were all like one big hunk of coral.
Yeah, I always liked
I
love the hard candies, though. I really did.
Together,
no, I hear you, but anyways, happy trick-or-treating.
Family, she had a great uncle. God rest his soul, World War II guy.
I had a pretty good uncle.
He was just a pretty good one. This guy was a great one.
Yeah.
Warm beer out of the cabinet. I mean, I was like,
well, there are certain beers that you are supposed to drink, and depending on who you talk to, all beers that have flavor to them, yes. But there are some beers that are some of the darker, like German beers, that actually are better room temperature. You want the flavor.
The champagne of beers. It's not really one of those German type of beers.
You want to make that as cold as you possibly can.
Yes, I possibly could. So
yes, you do.
I have a great story about that man.
All right.
Carrie's great uncle was on a Pacific island in World War II, and he walked past his brother-in-law. One was going on to the island, one was coming off the island. I mean, you were in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, in the middle of World War II.
They saw
walked
saw
right
each
past
other.
each other.
I mean, but they recognized or they
yeah.
didn't. Okay.
Yeah, they walked.
Because I mean, there's stuff like that sometimes where it's like, yeah, we didn't know that.
No, they walked right
wow,
past each other on an island. One was disembarking, one was embarking, one was coming into the island to fight, one was leaving the island from fighting. And you walk right past your brother-in-law, like, hey, what? Hey, how you doing? Man?
How's it going?
I never thought I'd see you in
jeez,
Tahiti or Iwo Jima. I don't know what island it was, but I was like, that's the most bizarre, amazing story to me.
Yeah.
Of like, wow. So
yeah,
that's like 3 stories in like 8 minutes right there, Ironhead.
That's pretty good. Off to a good start here on this Trick or Treat Tuesday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. Again, you can come on down to Quaker Steak and Lube. Man, fun night. If you're looking for a chance to get out after the trick-or-treaters or, maybe if you're leaving the bowl out at home, don't just stiff the trick-or-treaters. Now, if you live out in the, country and nobody comes around, fine. But, if you're in a neighborhood, by all means, go out for dinner, come on down to the Lube, but
I got a phobia.
Leave a little something for the kiddos.
I do. It's crazy because we rarely get trick-or-treaters. We live in the middle of the neighborhood. But it's like up a little steps coming from the one angle.
Yeah,
and
yours is
past.
right at the end of
so it's like one of those things. So you can see them walking around on the street, but we have rarely ever had more than like 5 or 6 kids ever, sometimes 0.
Huh.
So, and I just know the 1 year I don't get candy, I'm going to get deluged.
Yeah, so, you got to be prepared nonetheless.
We have I think if the parents just come out, they could just grab a beer off the porch from us if they really want it. They're really thirsty. So have the kids a couple beers. And they're seltzers. It's good. They're flavored.
I'm a little thirsty myself. Come to think of it, trick or treat, Goon.
Yeah, but I mean that's my thing. So we're going out to a dinner tonight, and I'm like, I gotta leave some stuff out. I can't stiff the kids. What I gotta do, man.
Yeah,
but that's just funny. I in my head, I'm like, oh, I just know they're going to show up. And then for the last 10, 15 years, we lived in that house. I count them on a hand how many people have come to the house, but yet I still go out and buy the candy. And my wife accuses me of buying all the candy because it's the candies that I like because she knows they're going to be extra.
Well, yeah.
And now I'm going to lead you down that path. What is your go-to? Top 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, so for me, I don't really have a go-to. I will tell you Twix.
Okay.
Which I never, I don't even think I ever tried it as a kid. Was it around? Maybe, was it? It's been around forever, right? I don't think I ever, and I don't know why. I mean, it wasn't like we had, oh my gosh. But I don't even think I don't know exactly when I had my first Twix, but I mean, I think it's been within the last 10, 12 years. I mean, it's been a recent, relatively recent phenomenon for me. And I bet into
if you were driving on the highway, stopped at a Wawa, Rudders or Sheetz, what would be your first choice?
It would be either Twix or Snickers. It depends on the day.
If you give me my third, I'm going to be very mad. You're already 2 for 2 with me.
So my third, truthfully, will vary from time to time. If you're asking me right at the moment, but this, I do fluctuate on other ones. I will say, and this isn't my third, but the most consistent chocolate I get is the Hershey's bars with the almonds.
Oh, yeah.
Because now you know why? Because I can justify. Well, the almonds, that's healthy. I'm trying to get my almond intake for the day. Almonds are really healthy for you. They're about the healthiest nut you can have.
High in fat, but it's good fat, right, Jeff?
Yeah, it's really, really good fat.
Great fat. That's great.
And the Hershey's milk chocolate, it has milk in it. So there's you're basically, you might as well be eating a nutrition bar.
Why it's have a Hershey bar with almonds?
Yeah, eating a Hershey bar with almonds is basically eating a salad. It's the exact same thing.
You got my 2.
My third at the moment, and again, this does fluctuate. Milky Way will get in there from time to time. Right at the moment, it would be the Kit Kat.
Okay.
I will go back and forth on some different ones with my third option. But right at the moment, I would fall on Kit Kat as my third
My
favorite choice.
candy, if I go to a convenience store
Yep.
and I need to get something, I'm a Snickers guy. And I'm telling you, there's nothing better than a frozen Snickers bar. Not the ice cream bar, the
I'm
frozen
with
John.
you.
Like the one you throw in your freezer for a couple of days and you go back and get it. And it's like you got to break it off, and you either break your tooth or you break the Snickers.
I'll tell you the other one I go on binges with, and I got him as a Halloween candy, and that's why Kit Kat may slip down to fourth really quickly here is the Nestle Crunch bar. I like the chocolate covered rice. That's there's just a good little crunch to it, good texture to it, and I do like the Nestle Crunch.
I am it's Snickers,
yep.
Frozen. If I had my doldrums, I'd be Frozen.
Yep.
And then Payday.
Paydays are darn good too.
Love Payday.
Yeah, Paydays are pretty darn.
And then
tasty.
I'll bring it up with the Twix. No, they're all Pennsylvania-made chocolates.
Yeah,
I've
become much more. I mean, I've always liked caramel, but caramel is almost as much of a go-to. And I have a horrible sweet tooth. Like my downfall is. I mean, ice cream is my all-time downfall.
Really?
But then chocolate and caramel are, how does anybody not? I have a couple of friends that swear they don't like chocolate. Now, I can understand not eating chocolate, but you're telling me you don't like the taste of chocolate? And I have a couple of friends that absolutely like, no, I really don't. I can't eat it. I'm like, you've got to be out of your mind. Like chocolate and caramel, again, more power to you if you don't eat it. But to say you don't like it, and listen, my wife's a vegetarian, and so she doesn't eat any meat, and I just don't understand. I really don't understand how you could go through life without eating ribs, burgers, wings on a somewhat regular basis. Bacon.
She's a vegetarian?
Oh, yeah.
Jeff, you didn't tell me this.
Oh, yeah.
We need to rethink our relationship here.
Yeah, she's very good about, Reg
and I touching some nerves here because you got people texting in right now.
Reg and I eat anything and everything we want, so she's good about that. It's not a something where she, is like, hey, I'm vegetarian. You need to be vegetarian too.
Tootsie Rolls is just somebody just sent them in there.
My buddy
just did.
Tootsie Rolls seems to be another one, kind of like candy corn. That's like it's almost divisive. Those people that are like, oh, I can't stand like Tootsie Rolls. Well, I'm with you. It's like now they're chewy, and I don't want Tootsie Rolls all the time. With a terribly regular basis, but. Every now and then a good Tootsie Roll is just candy delicious.
There, but it didn't make it out of the the bartender section over here.
I can't blame them a bit.
So here we go.
I mean, come on.
There we go.
I can't blame you a bit. Well, where that's going. I'm not getting any of that. Oh, I might get a piece. Now they look at what's in there.
Well, of course we are. That's one of the all-timers right there.
Shout out to our mutual buddy Joe Bastardi, who gave 3 Reese's peanut butter cups. We record a podcast usually on Monday nights. We did it last night. It's available now. The American Storm, if you want to check it out, it's everywhere where your podcasts are available. It is climate and weather based, but oddly enough, with Bastardi and I, there's a lot of Penn State wrestling talk in there. There's some Texas A&M football talk in there. Jesse, his daughter, so we'll get some gymnastics talk, and we go all over the place: politics, sports, and yes, weather, which is the basis for it. But we just dropped our 8th episode of the American Storm last night. But he gave a Reese's peanut butter cup for my wife, the Mad Turtle, and myself. So the Mad Turtle, I packed it in his lunch because Joe wanted it to be his first Halloween candy of the day. I said, well, we can make that happen. And then I'm eating mine tonight. I'm saving mine for
How big is it? Just a regular 3-pack?
Yeah. Well, no, he gave us 3 1-packs.
Okay.
Just I'm with you. Although
Has Joe bought me up?
The Reese's, He said he cares about you.
No, you could do it. You could continue it.
And he felt that that he shouldn't be providing
so
additional.
Me and Joe go back a long time. So he goes to the same charity we go to in Florida. Our friends the Schanfelters. So I have Joe convinced that me and my family are big Bill Nye the Science Guys peoples. And I'm not gonna lie to you. Do you think that a bunch of goon idiots are watching Bill Nye the Science Guy growing up? No, we were not. But I have him convinced that he put us a chapter in his book. It's about how his Joe and Bill Nye the Science Guy have this heated debate constantly. They go on each other's shows and they yell at each other, scream at each other. He's not a doctor. You're not a chemist. You're not this. You're not a scientist. You're not this. You're not that. He put a picture of me. Me and my brother were beating him up a couple of times, and he put the pictures in his book. He's like, the Conlon brothers, they love Bill Nye the Science Guy. And I'm like, I don't even know who the hell he was until you started coming around. And then,
well, we have this constant offer.
I love it.
On our that is hilarious. We have this constant offer that Michael Mann and or Bill Nye are invited on the podcast anytime to debate.
Who's
Mr.
Michael Mann?
Bastardi.
That's
that's the Penn State climatologist.
Really?
Whose work has been. Well, I guess it depends which side of the issue you come down on. Seems like maybe not the most well executed work in the world.
The hottest it's been in 10,000 years. How do you know that? Could you explain to me how you know that?
Yes.
I would love to find out how you have done documentation from 10,000 years ago.
So it is Halloween. It is trade deadline day, and it is interesting. I mean, the NFL used to have no trades. I mean, you'd have a couple.
Like hockey. Now it's turning into hockey.
Or baseball. And they're showing a highlight here of Will Levis, who takes on my beloved Steelers here on Thursday night. We'll get into that a little bit later. That one worries me for several reasons. And we'll get into the Steelers game on Sunday. The Mad Turtle and I and Marissa were
I saw that.
at the stadium, at Acrisure Stadium, not Heinz Field, as I inaccurately stated last week. It's Heinz Field. But when they win. We had a very good time despite the loss, and we'll get into some of the. I think there genuinely needs to be an investigation into the officiating in that one. There, it is one thing, as I've been saying, it is one thing when you have judgment calls, and I get it. Maybe from an angle, something looks worse than it is, and it was unbelievable how many calls went against the Steelers and how many went for Jacksonville in that game. But the one that, to me, and yes, the roughing the quarterback, the pass interference that was called and that wasn't called, all of that stuff, the roughing the quarterback that was called is baffling, and the one that wasn't called is even more baffling, especially after the one that was. But honestly, Goon, the one that I really I am dead serious. I think the NFL needs to investigate. They call the Steelers for offsides. On the field goal on the last play of the first half, they say the left guard lines up offsides. Now, they show one replay in the stadium, and it's like, well, there's nobody offsides in the angle we have. So I came home, and I'm like, I wonder if they're going to show this anywhere, because I really, I don't know how you could have a better angle. I mean, the angle they showed in the stadium. So sure enough, they have a couple of other angles that I've seen now. And, I mean, they're and again, to make that call, it has to be blatant, right? It can't be, well, he might be almost, it has to be blatant. Not only was it not, well, almost, it did not happen. And when you look at it, the right defensive end for Jacksonville is clearly offside. Now, listen, maybe it's just incompetence. Maybe it's horrible officiating, but that is the type of call, Goon, that really does, to me, call into question the integrity here of the game.
I agree.
And I think the NFL, again, I don't know whether anything's going on there or not. But to me, you've got to find out. All right, you got to at least go to the linesman after that game. And I don't know exactly what the protocols are with the league. And yes, why in the world would you throw the flag here? And then, depending on his answer, and maybe regardless of his answer, again, this is me, because I think the NFL, with as much money as being thrown around on these games and stuff, I think then you say, listen, we want to see your phone. We want to go through the records here over the last week. To me, you need to do some follow-up and make sure that, hey, we need to know, were you just incompetent and you're seeing things, or is there something shady going on? And that's the type of call in that type of play where it's like, again, the instinct is, man, that's not just bad officiating. Like that's something that doesn't seem right.
Yeah. So the roughing the passer calls, they're calling them on the Steelers and not on Jacksonville. And that's an umpire who's not giving the outside strike to one team, but giving it to the other team. It's like, just be fair.
Right. And the difference to me in the two is the Steelers one, as he's hitting the ground, the Steelers player is falling off of and down on the legs. Like, he is intentionally not putting his weight on the player. To me, that is, he did everything he could to avoid the call. They nail him. On the Kenny Pickett one, Goon, that is the absolute definition of driving a player into the ground and landing with your weight on top of him. I mean, that is what they say they are trying to get out of the league. And again, those two calls, the interference calls, and listen, to me, there was a blatant one that should have been called on Jacksonville that wasn't. There was a non-existent one that they called on the Steelers. And again, that stuff, I can at least, I'm going to be angry about it, but it's like, okay, maybe it's an angle thing. The quarterback thing, but again, the one to me that really makes you wonder is that offsides call when there was nobody offsides for the Steelers and there was a player offsides for Jacksonville. You go back and look at it, and it is plain as day. That does, again, to me, raise the specter of, okay, what is happening here? Why are these calls being made, and why are they going only seemingly one way throughout the course of this game?
I've noticed that, the big thing with Philadelphia right now is the tush push. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And how they're just not being stopped on it. So this week they called the left, or I think it was the Dolphins game 2 weeks ago. I wasn't here last week to complain with you. But they said that left guard was lined up all sides. And then they show the line, you're like, he's nowhere even close to being off sides. First of all, it was the center's offhand. It was Kelsey's offhand, and they're saying it's in the neutral zone. And you're like, dude, come on, man.
Yeah.
It's the center. What's he supposed to put his hand back 6 inches off the ball?
Right.
And then they called coincidental or and it's just a coward's exit is what they're doing, and they're trying to. I don't know. The whole tush push thing it's gone out of control. It's crazy. But watching that Steelers game, I'm telling you, I would be furious if I were you. And you know me. I am not going to stick up for the Eagle or for the Steelers one bit, but that's complete. I just think they just love the Jacksonville story right now, and they're pushing that. And the other one I'm noticing last night, they're loving that Detroit Lions.
They are loving the Lions
blood
story
in there. Get some Jacksonville and in there.
And listen, just so we're clear, I'm not saying that the officials solely cost the Steelers the game. I am saying that something just did not seem right. Like I think objectively, somebody watching that game would be like, wait a second, why the hell are all these calls that are bad calls all going Jacksonville's way and none of going Pittsburgh's way? I really think if you objectively watch that game, you would be wondering that. Now, again, you have games where there's bad officiating, and you hope over the course of the season that stuff plays itself out. But again, to me, and it doesn't need to be publicly announced or anything, but to me, the NFL ought to be investigating exactly what the heck was going on. And listen, there's been some other calls throughout the league this year where, again, same thing. It's like, listen, let's make sure we're getting to the bottom. Maybe it's just incompetence. Maybe they're seeing, like you said, maybe it's they're seeing the hand of the center, and somehow they're mistaking the hand that's on the football for being a hand that's next door. I mean, that stuff is possible. But again, you get calls like this, and to me, it at least requires a thorough inquiry as to what the heck is going on by the league. And the Steelers had plenty of plays that they left on the table. I mean, Deontay Johnson on the first play, if he catches that football, Steelers are probably up, 6-0 right out of the gate. And who knows how different, or maybe not, that game ends up playing out. You never know. So, and the Steelers had plenty of other opportunities. Obviously, Mitch Trubisky throwing into triple coverage when you feel like you have a chance here to tie this game up. Very frustrating from a Steelers
Two
fan
games you shouldn't have won this year that you won. In this game, it seemed like you could have won, and it didn't.
Yeah, and listen, Jacksonville's a very good team. ETN is having, obviously, a sensational season and all of that. But it just it was frustrating, especially at home, to have seemingly every close call go against you. The one one guy sitting next to me did point out the fumble that they rolled was a fumble. It was close, and I think they said they let the call stand. It did look like I forget if that was ETN but it looked like he did pull the ball back in, and then. But again, once that ball starts coming out, I think it's really hard to judge definitively. And then if it does come out as he hits the ground, it's like, well, control there, and so they let it stand. That was the one. That's the only even questionable call that I can think of that didn't go Jacksonville's way on the entire day. But. Onward and upward, the Steelers again with a big one coming up here on Thursday night. What's that?
Going to play?
I don't know.
Did not look good.
No, I would be.
That. You could see that. It was like, oh,
yeah. I would be surprised, pleasantly surprised.
Has he not been fudging around the whole season with leg injuries?
Yeah, I don't think he's been. Although, truthfully, I don't know that there's many of these guys that are 100% week.
No, he hurt his when he when he destroyed what's his knee. He hurt something.
Yeah,
but it wasn't his leg.
No.
Okay.
Not on Sunday.
That's what I'm. No. The Browns guy. Jesus God. Not Kareem Hunt, the guy who destroyed his leg in the Cleveland Steelers game. When Minkah hit him.
Yeah.
And Minkah got hurt that play. But I think it was an upper body injury because I was wondering if Minkah's been dealing with a lot of different leg injuries throughout the whole year, because sometimes when you do that, you worry about your calf, you're not stretching your hamstring correctly, and then that pops. So, that was you could just see that when he goes right to that leg and he's in the full speed, that's bad news for him. So I'd be interested to see if he'll be there Thursday. We'll
take a break here. When we come back, we are going to turn our attention to Penn State football. The Nittany Lions getting ready for their final true road game of the season, as they'll take on the Terrapins in College Park on Saturday, 3:30 kickoff. But I want to talk a little bit more about the Indiana game and some of the things we saw and maybe didn't see in that one, and what it may or may not portend for the remainder of the season. But we'll get into all of that on our Tuesday edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We are at Quaker Steak and Lube, and we're glad to have you along for the ride today.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorrento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
You hands it, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
The Goon and Ironhead.
Welcome you back into the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube on this Tuesday. Goon, obviously not an overwhelming performance by the Nittany Lions on Saturday. Penn State does get out of there with the W, which they desperately needed at the old, you don't want to have Ohio State beat you twice. And boy, it sure felt for quite a while like that was a distinct possibility on Saturday. But Penn State makes some plays down the stretch. They get out of there with the win. And again, there's a few things I want to get into coming out of the game on Saturday, Goon, and I'm curious to get your thoughts on a couple of them. One is, I do think, I mean, I don't think there's any question that there was a hangover, or however you want to look at it, talk about it, from the Ohio State game. And to some degree, it's almost inevitable, right? Like I know everybody talks and everybody wants to put the game behind them and, move forward and 1-0 and all of that. And I get it, but we're human beings. And, I'm trying to think, like, if I'm up for a big promotion at work, right? And it's like I know that the promotion, they'll say that your company sets a date, the promotions are handed out every year in April or whatever it is. And you get to April and it's like, man, I've worked my tail off. And yeah, you know what? Not this year. We really think you could get it next year, though. Like that next week, right? I mean, if you enjoy the company that you're working for and all of that, like you're going to tell yourself, all right, yep, I'm going to work my tail off and I'm going to get there. I'm going to prove them that and that's not a great comparison. I understand, but I take whatever it is. If you get a great disappointment in life, a breakup with somebody that you really like, if, again, you're worked up, you go to a game that you're really expecting your team to win and they lose. Like it just takes a little edge off and it takes a little while to get it back. And so, yes, man, it was disappointing and frustrating, but I don't know that it necessarily tells you anything about how the season is going to finish up here for Penn State because, again, it is always a 1 week season in and unto itself. And listen, Maryland's coming off a loss to Northwestern. You think Penn State is feeling bad about the performance against Indiana? Again, it was an ugly win, but it was a win.
Yes.
That beats the heck out of an ugly loss, which is exactly what Maryland had against Northwestern.
And then the week before that was a loss to Illinois.
Yep.
I mean, there's two really bad losses. I mean, Ohio State threw them into a complete funk. You know?
They've let the Buckeyes beat them 3 times in a row.
Much like us.
Yeah. Now, so here's the thing. I am Saturday's game is, to me, this Saturday with Maryland is really interesting because I think from a psychological standpoint, I'm really fascinated to see how both these teams come out. Penn State has not played well in any of its 3 road games. I mean, in none of them did you come away saying, wow, man, that team looked good. Right? Now, Illinois and Northwestern, they figured some things out, and you felt better about the game after the second half performances. But even after those games, you didn't come away saying, okay, Penn State is clearly national title contender worthy, they're ready to go. And obviously against Ohio State, you lost a game that, again, in many ways, I think you've been preparing for, should have been preparing for almost a year, and certainly for 3 weeks. So I think it is bitterly disappointing that you had the performance that you did. And again, now Penn State's coming off a lackluster performance against Indiana. And you have the game now that could salvage the season a week away. And I think there's part of you, again, human nature. It's like, oh, man, I can hardly wait. Next week, we can get back. So how Penn State actually comes out and looks early is fascinating. They have not looked good early in any game, but on the road, they really have not been impressive out of the gates yet. And now this is a Maryland team that, again, I think if you asked coaches, players, and fans alike, what's the one game you want to win every year? This is it. They want to beat Penn State.
And we've literally hammered this point for 5 years we've been doing this show. And even last night we were talking about how it is Maryland Super Bowl. These are guys that we grew up with. I'm talking as a Penn State football player. My best friend Fitz played at Maryland. My brother's best friend my brother obviously played here on the 86 team. His best friend went to Maryland. They both would have given right arm to come to Penn State. And that's the way they have that chip on that shoulder. Yep. So we have hammered that point home for years, and that is that this is their Super Bowl. But one thing I've noticed about this Maryland game, especially at Maryland, is that we have so many Baltimore, D.C. guys and Northern Virginia guys that I was talking last night on the Players Show that, when I played Temple, I was I had an extra jet package in my butt, going after people. Yeah, it was just I'm playing in front of my home, my home crowd, my family, my friends. So all these guys from the Baltimore, D.C., Northern Virginia area that are on this team, which we have absolutely taken all of their great players for many, many years from. It means so much more to them. So my personal opinion is I'm not worried about the lull that we do have normally when we're on the road, when we're at Northwestern and specifically at, Illinois. We were pretty slow at Illinois, but definitely Northwestern we started like crap, and then Ohio State we played like crap the whole day. So I'm okay with this going down there, but I mean I think that our guys realize this, and you don't have to remind James Franklin of 2014. I mean, I do it every year. I send him a little message of a little video of them not shaking our hands, and I just will always stick in my craw that they deserve no respect and never give them any ounce of respect because of that. But that is their mindset, as in Maryland. So they're in a tailspin right now. So this is their easiest way to come out of it. So Loxley is not a friend or confidant of James Franklin. They were friends at one point, and they've really grown apart, so they do not like each other. So there's so many little side stories to this Maryland-Penn State game, it's always, in my opinion, has always made it great. But, yes, we do need to come out there, take their crowd out of the game because even their students hate us.
And that is – so from going back to the psychological component to this – to me, is if Penn State comes out and starts slowly, and Maryland jumps up, let's say 7-0 or 10-0. Right. Again, I don't think it's like, well, I mean, this is just what we do. We'll figure it out and we'll win against, again, lesser competition.
Yep.
And Maryland now suddenly feels like lesser competition again. Going into that Ohio State game, and really at halftime of that the Maryland-Ohio State game I'm talking about, at halftime of that game, Goon,
they were in it, man.
I think we would have all been saying, well, I think we did say Maryland is probably the fourth best team in the Big Ten. You have Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, and then it's probably Maryland. Now, Scott Geezy brought up this morning, like, could you definitively say that Maryland is better than Rutgers right now? Rutgers is 6-2. Their
Absolutely
defense
right
has been playing really well. Maryland now has lost 3 straight, including to Northwestern, which is, almost inexplicable.
By the way, hat tip to Northwestern.
Absolutely.
With what they're going
and those kids, and we talked about it after Penn State played them. I mean, there's one of a couple of things that can happen when you have what happened at Northwestern occur, where you're losing your head coach for something that that as players, I think they feel like that Pat Fitzgerald did nothing wrong. I don't want to debate that right now. But I think they feel like that was not right what happened to their coach. And again, you can that can go one of a couple ways. You can get a bunch of guys saying, I'm out of here after this season, and I'm just going to play this out, and the heck with it. This is ridiculous. I don't want to play for this school. Or say, hey, we came here because we believed in each other. Yep. We're going to rally, and I think they've done that.
Absolutely.
Throughout the entire season. That team has played hard week in and week out.
And I want to go back to the Maryland thing before, but I do want to say, look at what has happened to Northwestern and look what has happened to Michigan State.
Yeah.
Michigan State has 2 starter captains say, we're done.
Yeah.
And they left school this week and then they're the transfer portal. So that's the difference right there.
No,
there's a guy who's
fallen apart.
Absolutely.
Completely.
There's guys who rally the troops. And they make things happen out there at Northwestern. They stuck together. He's not coming back. They understand that, but they're not going to cry over spilled milk. And that's the definition of what 2 ways a team can go. One just completely has just said, you know what, we're done. I mean, I cannot believe Sparty, with all the talent they have, they're just like, we're done, we're out. I mean, guys are quitting the team midseason. Captains, starters, defensive leaders.
It's getting
but
really
I do want to say hat
there.
tip to Northwestern.
Absolutely.
I really do. But Maryland going out there, and it's the most Maryland thing of all time. So David Jones had a great comment today on Maryland. He says, you think it runs deeper for Loxley? He needs to change his recruiting focus from merely as something a track team disguising as football players, guys who may not make superior athletes, but having they can play football. He's saying stop recruiting freaking athletes and start recruiting football players, because that's the problem. Once you start smacking around the non-football players, they don't want to play anymore.
Yeah,
and that is the MO of Maryland, and it has been for years. You go down there, they are going to out-athlete you. They can match up athletically with Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. No problem.
Although I will say, what are Michigan folks saying about Penn State right now?
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you got some great athletes. That's cool. You guys can run fast. Wait till we smash you in the mouth and watch how you crumble. And that's what they did to us
last year. They're going to do it again.
So there's varying degrees, I guess, of it. And again, Penn State at some point has to kind of man up and step up.
Put your big boy pants
game.
on.
Yep.
Strap your pants up. Let's go. Pull them up, because you got to go to a war right now. But that's the Maryland MO. They're going to come out. My prediction on 24/7 is that Maryland comes out. They takes the lead on us. We're still in a funk a little bit, but then I really think that fourth quarter, for having an interception to that touchdown pass, I think it really snapped Aller out of his little funk, in my opinion. I really have that feeling that that's going to happen.
So I want to really kind of zero in on that a little bit here for the rest of this segment. And first of all, let me say, also, just with this Maryland game, I do think if Penn State, and it's a big capital I, capital F, if Penn State can come out and jump on them early,
they're quick.
Yeah, I do think Maryland right now, I think their psyche is such that, yeah, if Penn State comes out, and especially if Penn State can get a 2-score lead in the first half, I'm not going to sit here and tell you the game's over. Yep. But I really like Penn State's chances there, because then I think Maryland starts. I think there's some finger pointing going on in that locker room right now with what's happened here over the last couple of weeks. And I think it becomes tougher in a game where you're wanting to perform well if you don't get off to that good start to truly believe that, okay, no, we're going to turn this around after what's happened here the last 3 weeks as well.
So Aeneas Hawkins, my co-host last night on the Player Show, he says, what about 2019? Maryland canceled classes Friday.
Yeah.
Get ready for that Penn State game. Get them all wound up and this and that. And Penn State just took them behind the woodshed and beat them 59-0.
Yeah.
That was when our students were in their student section by the end of the game. That's just dominating and taking over a team. So that's what could happen. That's what I want to happen. That's what should happen. Getting our hopes up and everybody's getting all jacked up for the week after that.
So I want to go to the Penn State offense here, Goon. Yep. And I'm again, certainly not a great performance again. And I'm reading and hearing from folks, and I think it's fair to say, you know, listen, this is just what Penn State is this year. This is what the offense is. And, you know, hopefully they can grind out, 3 more wins and maybe somehow pull out, again, I'm paraphrasing friends and things I've read, pull out a miracle and somehow beat Michigan at Beaver Stadium. But if not, 10-2, and that's just kind of who they are. Here is my take, and I'm not sure I'm right about this, but I've been thinking about it a lot the last day or so, and I at least have myself convinced that I'm right, or I'm at least on the right track here. I really think that Penn State went into this season, James Franklin and Penn State went into this season thinking that defense was good enough and the talent around Drew Aller was good enough that all they needed to do was make sure Drew Aller wasn't the reason they were losing games, i.e. play mistake-free football. And to be honest with you, if you had asked me before the season, is that a recipe to get you into the national title mix? Yep, I would have bought it. But I also went up to wrestling practice yesterday for the Nittany Lions. And I'm just reminded of something with Cale Sanderson's mentality and the mentality he has with his wrestlers. And again, I haven't thought this all the way through. I don't think, but I've given it a lot of thought since I was up at practice yesterday. I really think they got too focused on not making mistakes and on not having Drew Aller make mistakes. Now, there's going to be a line here, and I think I can draw it, but I'm not saying that I think Drew Aller should have just been whipping the ball around all throughout the season. And if you see double coverage, go ahead, man, you've got a strong arm, fire it in there, Brett Favre-like, and take your chances. You know, to go back to James Franklin's confrontation, if you want to call it that, with Corey Geiger. It's I'm cringing when you talk about just throwing it, even if he's not open. Listen, I think I really think that exchange to me sums up a good bit of why Penn State is not having more success. Now, again, I want to be clear here that I am not saying I think Drew Aller should be throwing the ball downfield 10 times a game, no matter whether there's somebody open or not, just fire it down there. But, and this occurred to me a little bit watching Kenny Pickett and the Steelers on Sunday as well. Some of it is understanding situational football and what the opportunities are that you have during the course of a game. If you are on 3rd and 10 and you are out near midfield, go ahead and take a shot. If your dude is covered, take a shot. Oh, yeah, but you might get an interception. Yeah, if that interception occurs at the 10-yard line on 3rd and 10, it's as good as you were going to get off of a punt, maybe better. And the alternative is your receiver goes and makes a big play, and you're set up 1st and goal, and now you've got a chance to maybe get, a knockout blow early or at whatever point of the game it is. Now, if it is 2nd and 1 and you're wanting to take a shot downfield and both these guys are covered, yes, throw the check down pass. That makes sense. Even if you lose a yard, it's well defended. Cool. You just come back with 3rd and short and you take your chances that you can convert there. It feels to me, and I haven't gone back and looked at all of the games, so I'm not 100% sure I'm right about this, but I think they have gotten so much in Drew Aller's head and have focused so much of their attention on offense that we don't want to make the mistake. We have a good defense, just play field position, that even on 3rd and 10, it's like, hey, if it's not clearly wide open, take the check down, get the 4 or 5 yards, and we'll punt and play field position. And to me, no, take that shot on 3rd and 10 when you have a quarterback with what we all believe is the ability of Drew Aller. Man, take the shot. Take the chance. And again, I'm not saying don't do Mitch Trubisky and throw into triple coverage while your receivers slip into the field. But if it's one-on-one and, he's pretty well covered, take a shot. Let your receiver go try to make a play for you. Again, this is just me talking. I'm not sure I wouldn't feel better about the overall situation right now if Drew Aller had 3 or 4 interceptions on the season instead of the 0 he has. And it's an impressive stat, and I don't want to downplay it as much as it sounds like I'm downplaying it. But if you are allowing him to take some opportunities or, giving him the green light, so to speak, that, you know what, every now and then in the right circumstance, go ahead and let it fly. Let these guys, even if they're not getting the separation that everybody wants, let them go make a play. That is, you go back and look at Trace McSorley and that 2016 team. It wasn't like, man, those Penn State receivers just kept getting great separation, and McSorley just, he just had to get it in the neighborhood. They were wide open. They went and made play. No, McSorley was throwing it up, and those guys went and made plays. Well, Ironhead, they don't have, the playmakers that that team had. There's no KJ Hamler do we actually know that right now? Do we know whether these guys in a one-on-one battle will come down with the ball? Because I don't know that we do. Either way, your thoughts.
I have noticed that 100%. We have not taken. I mean, I go back to the Illinois game. And I was sitting there saying they were in this 8-man front with one single safety. Will you stretch the field? And Corey Geiger caught a lot of crap for that comment he made 3 weeks ago. But I'm telling you what, man, the guy's coming out to sound pretty good right now because James made a fool of Corey pretty much that day and even next day when he was making –
but I think James
practice.
I think James was being honest, though. I do think he gets to a certain extent. I mean, I do think he's like, I don't want the mistake. And again, I'm not sitting here telling you context matters, and I'm not saying that no matter what, your guy's double covered, you fire that ball in there and give him a chance. Not what I'm saying, not what Corey Geiger was saying. No. But if you have one-on-one coverage, even if he's not wide open, if it is a 2nd and 15 or it is a 3rd and 10, take a shot.
Try it.
Right? Mm-hmm. I mean, every now and then, I think you've got to take a shot. And if you have the big-time arm that we all believe, and I mean, I think we know Drew Aller has, again, you have a 5-star recruit. We are more than halfway through the season. Maybe the first couple of weeks, you're like, hey, let's really protect the football, make that the emphasis. I just think that emphasis, I think it's been overemphasized. And again, I'm not in the room, but
I'm with you.
But James Franklin keeps talking about it. And, we're, 8 weeks in, and it's one interception and fine. as far as it goes, that's a good statistic. But again, if you look back on it, and I think most fans, it's like a blitzing defense. The Steelers got caught on a blitz on one of Jacksonville's touchdowns, and the receiver made a great play. It was a great read by Lawrence, and it's like, okay, man, that sucks.
You got it.
But if you're the Steelers, you're not saying, all right, well, let's not blitz anymore. That was too risky, right? Like over the course of the season, that blitz package that the Steelers have has caused a ton of turnovers, created a ton of field position advantage, and yes, has created a couple of touchdowns going the other way because the quarterback made a good read, got rid of it quickly, and the receiver made a great catch. I think you live with that if you're the defense because of the plays you make. I think you live with a couple of interceptions, a couple more interceptions from Drew Aller if you're also getting, let's say 6 plays of 40 yards plus in the passing game over that same time frame.
One of the knocks, and then because I would ask this question to a lot of people, why the hell is Sean Clifford playing every snap? Why can't Aller get a drive here and there, an important time in this and that? And I was told that as a young guy, he threw a lot of picks. He threw a lot of risky coverages, let's just say, and I don't know if they beat that out of him.
Well, and
forced his mind to say, "Hey, don't make that. Make the easy Alex Smith type of check down route type of thing. It's the safe way. Live to fight another day."
So
he may have taken that to heart. I don't know.
And so this is. Let me bring it back to my wrestling comparison because that's just what I do. But Vincenzo Joseph, I don't know if people remember when he made his Rec Hall debut, he got thrown to his back twice and lost his first match. And Cael Sanderson did not tell him, listen, you got to shut it down. Don't make mistakes. It was like, hey, learn from that. Like, you got to tighten some things up technically. It wasn't that we can't afford to have. Now, again, I'm not sitting here telling you that Cael Sanderson was like, oh, yeah, no, we're fine with you being thrown to your back a couple of times every match. Obviously not the message, and they went back and they corrected some things technically, but it wasn't a situation where it was like, hey, you can't make those mistakes. It was like, man, way to go for it, way to be in there and aggressive. Now we've got to correct a couple things next time, adjust here. So to me, you don't want to take like Brett Favre. Like you could have probably coached him to just, all right, picking. Well, that wouldn't be, and I don't know. I'm not sure I'm making the great comparison there with Aller and Favre. We haven't seen enough of Aller yet. I don't know that he's necessarily the gunslinger, and he just, that is his game, is nothing but taking chances. But I think there's something in between here where it just seems like he is constantly, not wide open, dump it down. And opposing defenses, and I think that's what happened with Indiana, is they've watched this for 7 weeks, and it's like, well, you know what? As long as we don't let him wide open here deep, we know he's going to be thrown underneath. Let's come up and make the tackle, and that's what they did.
What Ohio State did. They pressured him on
the
line.
It absolutely is.
We're not going to let you off the line of scrimmage. You're not going to throw deep, so why would we give you that 7-8 yard cushion? There's no need to do it, and that's who put the blueprint out there.
And I think it's just, to me, it's a subtle change that has to occur in terms of the mentality with aggressiveness.
Okay, but that's my question about Vincenzo.
Yeah.
Does Cael see him as an aggressive wrestler or as a passive defensive wrestler? That's where it comes down to, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, and I think, and Bo Nickel was much the same thing. Miles Martin caught him, and
Bo was aggressive.
Well, I mean, you'd say mildly aggressive, probably. But listen, I mean, that is when you have that aggressive home run mentality.
There are defensive wrestlers, right?
For sure.
Okay.
But the ones that win bigger more often are the ones that go big, right? Yeah. Like that. I mean, that is, and I think part of Penn State's problem against Ohio State is, again, they go in with the idea, and listen, every team goes into every big game. There's not a coach that goes into the Super Bowl saying, hey, don't worry about the turnovers today, guys. I just want you to be aggressive, right? Like that. I get it. So there's a fine line here, and I'm not saying you don't point out the importance of taking care of the football. Turnovers are critical in those big games, but so is going out and playing with confidence and belief that when you need to make a big play, man, we're just going to make it. Instead of, man, if we need to make a big play, if it's not there, I'll at least take something. It's a subtle difference in mentality, and I think it just needs to change for Penn State. And I'm wondering.
I think it did.
That's where I'm going.
I'm wondering left to go in the game. It really, I think it did.
And I want to see. I'm really curious to see what the passing game in particular looks like for Penn State here on Saturday against Maryland, and then obviously even more so against Michigan the next week. But so the other thing I just want to really quickly, and then, yes, make your point. And by the way, if you're listening on the radio, you're listening to WFXS, Pleasant Gap State College, and we appreciate you tuning in on this Tuesday afternoon. I think, oh my gosh, I just lost my train of thought.
Aller, fourth quarter, changes.
Yeah, the
momentum.
The mentality. So a lot of people have said, I wonder if this is just what this Penn State offense is. And it's the same thing with, Penn State, Ohio State. I think it's just, this is what James Franklin is. Listen, as a human being, you can always learn and you can always adjust. And I'm just wondering aloud whether or not suddenly the script now is going to be flipped, and it's like, yes, we want to protect the football. We don't want to be willy-nilly again. I'm not saying you just go out there and you start flipping the ball around and, hey, we'll take our chances and we'll get a couple of big plays even if we turn it over 3 or 4 times. But, again, in spots, I think, man, take that shot. And I'm not convinced that this offense is what it is. Now, maybe it is. We'll see how the season plays out. But it felt to me, yes, that maybe that page was turned. And again, we're going to find out here both Saturday and then against Michigan, whether or not, that Penn State offense is just what it is, or whether it's like, we're taking the lessons learned from Ohio State and through much of that Indiana game. And listen, we've got to be more aggressive, not crazy, out of control aggressive, but we've got to take more chances. Go ahead with your point.
No, I'm just going to say, man, maybe he doesn't have the faith in the receivers to get open downfield because they obviously haven't. I mean, the quarterback instinctively has their go-to receiver. Who's ours? No one has set themselves apart.
Yeah, I would have said Keandre Lambert-Smith, but man,
nobody has set themselves.
Been too many drops here.
Nobody has set themselves apart from the whole situation. So you're sitting there. There's not a tight end. There's not a running back. There's not a wide receiver who's going out there and he's going to say, "I know he's going to be open." You know what? I watched Joe's 409 victory was 10 years or something, 11, 12 years ago yesterday. So 11, so 12 years. They were talking about Derek Moy in that game. And I'm like, he didn't play that whole game because he was hurt, and they played the fourth quarter, and he made all those plays happen. And it was just 100%. They knew that Moy was going to be open. You know what I mean? He was that wide receiver. KJ Hamler was wide open, not all the time, but he was going to make plays for you. I don't think we have that wide receiver right now who was guaranteed to make him plays.
Do you think the 2 tight ends could be that, though?
I mean, we have not utilized our tight ends at
not enough, not with the talent they have, and that's what I'm wondering is if you're not going to start to see, because I can see that may be a valid point. I still would contend I want to see how those receivers, even if they're not open, again, if it's one-on-one and you're throwing the ball up and it's a 50-50 ball, And again, maybe they're seeing in practice, nope, consistently. Now, they're playing one of the best secondaries in practice on a regular basis. So I'd also be a little careful. If you're coming down with it 40% of the time against this secondary, maybe you're coming down with it 60, 70% of the time against, a Maryland secondary, or now Michigan, Ohio State, might be a different story again there. But I also, even if we all agree that the receivers aren't getting separation, my question is, can they still go make plays for you, though? Can McLean, if you throw it up? Now, the counter to that, as I've talked myself in and out of this, is, well, they're not making the routine plays on a regular basis. Like, there have been a lot more drops than I would have anticipated this season. I don't think it's one of the worst years I've ever seen with drop passes.
Right there, by the way.
But there have been more drop passes on easily catchable balls that, maybe you say, well, yeah, I mean, we're on plays where you should be making it, 100% of the time. They're making it 75. What makes you think on a 50-50 ball they're going to go get that? And that's fair. I don't have a strong argument to that, except that you've got to change something right now to win the Ohio State and Michigan
going
games.
Downfield, it seems we do go downfield. It's down the sideline. Nothing down the middle of the field the whole season, really. It's frustrating.
And I think the tight ends can bring you that. It doesn't have to be wide receivers.
Utilized enough. Okay, if we want to be a chuck and duck offense and this and that, you better have a run game. And then we come back from the break here. I know we're going to talk about it because I'm about sick, and we're 8-9 games in now, waiting for this offensive line to come around and have this great running attack that we were supposed to have. We are far from that.
Yeah.
Far from that.
Happy Halloween, Sally. Thank you for checking in. Denny asking if Penn State has been playing not to lose instead of playing to win. Well, yeah, that's the succinct way to say what I've been taking a half hour to describe.
I didn't think about
but yes, I do think that's exactly what happened, especially in the Ohio State game.
Drew having to go into our defensive backs, it's demoralizing. I mean, these guys are good. I mean, he may have lost a lot of his confidence.
The other thing with that too is they have got to get, and I am not calling for a change at quarterback, lest anybody misunderstand, but they have got to get Bo Prabula into these games somehow, some way. I don't care if it's put him back there with Singleton and do misdirection with one or the other. They've got to start utilizing that to try to loosen up defenses. This is my opinion.
That's not James. I mean, we asked for that last year with, and he just doesn't do it.
That's fine.
But I'm with you. I'm 100% with you on that.
That's fine. And what I'm saying is we're talking about ways that Penn State can get where it wants to be, which is a playoff team, a team that can beat Ohio State, at least on a semi-regular basis, can beat Michigan on a semi-regular basis. And I'm telling you, one of the things you've got to do, my opinion, is utilize the talent you have on the roster. Bo Prabula, I don't know exactly where he ranks in terms of overall offensive football talent, but I think – and I'm not evaluating these guys every day in practice and all of that. I concede all of that. I think Prabula is one of the best 11 players they have on offense. I've seen enough of him that I'm like, nope, that dude. Now, again, I don't want him out there over Aller all of the time, but I think a series, a game to get the change up, or, again, a couple of plays here and there where – you're pitching it to him, giving him a true run-pass option. I don't see what it would hurt. I hear what you're saying. That's not James Franklin's MO.
That's crazy, right?
That's fine. But you know what else isn't James Franklin's MO? Beating Ohio State or Michigan and getting to the playoffs. Maybe we need to change up the MO. Just a thought.
There we go.
We'll take a break here. You are listening to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show. We appreciate that. and we are back in Mirror.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Your hands it, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steaks triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
The Goon and Ironhead.
Guys, welcome back to the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show on this Tuesday afternoon. How many Michigan staffers will be in College Park, dear Goon? What say you?
I'm telling you, this the day I heard this. 2 weeks ago? It's been going on now. I think it's been out there a little bit.
Well,
I believe I was on the way out to Ohio State when it broke.
Yeah,
and we were talking about it. No, because we talked about it that Thursday, and it was just like one of those things, like ha ha ha. It's like one of those. Well, everybody does it, and it's true. My 2 cents is that everybody and their mother in every sport at every level will try to steal your signs during a game. Major League Baseball does it. There's no rules against doing it on game day. Now, if what they're saying is true, if this guy going around all these stadiums filming all of this stuff, having these sidelines, and he's on the sideline, the Ohio State video is the one that's damning to me. But if he's going out there, and it's just like the Houston Astros, in my opinion, if you use technology to gain that advantage, and that's not an advantage, you're now cheating. That's no longer an advantage. That's actually cheating is what you're doing. I mean, somebody's like, well, how do they know that quick? I'm sorry, if they don't know the play, you don't know the play. But if you know it's a pass or a run, that changes that hell of a lot.
Significantly.
Big time. So the one at Ohio State, the one that I get, it was the opening play of the game. First of all, this guy's a defensive analyst. Why is he on the sideline next to the DC, and then he's next to the OC when they don't have the ball? It's a little odd to me, and it's damning to me, in my opinion. But when they show him and C.J. Stroud on the first play of the game, they do. Ohio State walks the line of scrimmage. They bark a couple calls out, see what defense they have. They look to the sideline. Everybody looks to the sideline. And then they're showing the camera angle right to the DC who's sitting next to the Stallion guy. And C.J. Stroud gets the sign from – he has not even announced it to his offense. And Stallions is on the bench giving the guns up or whatever. And then the defensive coordinator gives the symbol. And then all the players behind him give it. Why is that guy making the call?
That is, and this
in a
is
nutshell. That is it.
This is, and to me, Goon, where the real issue, and again, this is just to me, where the real issue is Jim Harbaugh saying, I know nothing about this. I don't know that there's any. That is impossible.
Physically impossible.
Again, do I think this is one of the great scandals in the history of college sports? No, but do I feel much differently about it if Jim Harbaugh comes out and says, you know what, I think a lot of teams are doing this. We sent a guy, I don't know how much of an advantage we really get. That first series, maybe it's helping us. I would feel much better about him just coming out and owning it and saying, I didn't think it's that big of a deal. It's kind of, we equate it, and then we can debate that. We equate it to giving a, kid cream cheese on his bagel when we were recruiting, and we've moved on since then, and we think this is an antiquated rule, but we shouldn't have broken it until we get the rules changed. I would advocate that we change the rules. All of that would have been fine, but to come out and say, nope, I don't to my knowledge, none of this happened. To me, it is clear. I guess we don't have absolute definitive proof, but to me, it is 100% clear. Yes, this occurred, and yes, Harbaugh lied about it. And as almost is always the case, yes, the cover-up is worse than the crime. I don't think this crime, again, to me,
I do. I personally do.
I don't, because, and here's why I don't. And again, I mean, you shouldn't do it. It's in the rules. Don't do it. It's that simple. But most teams, right, are changing up even during the course of the game because, now that first series, and yes, can that set the tone and all of that? Yep.
Ohio State scored on the opening drive, by the way, just so you know.
Yeah. So, but I'm not saying it's completely insignificant. But I also, I think there are many worse things that have been done, probably are being done in the overall scheme of things. That's my take. But you think this is a bigger deal?
There's multiple different things that have come up. And if hell, even if a quarter of them are true, something's screwy. Okay, the Central Michigan thing, when the video of the guy being on the sideline, is it him, is it not him? Why does Central Michigan nuts come out and say, that's our athletic trainer's son and this and that? They came out and said, we are investigating it.
Yeah.
That in itself is weird.
That is very weird.
Okay. South Carolina with Shane Beamer has 3 guys on his staff that were with Harbaugh at one point. They all of a sudden, Tennessee is a juggernaut last year. South Carolina goes down there and hangs 63 points on them, and there's rumors that Stallions or whatever had helped out Shane Beamer and his staff because they were all wearing play sheets and this and that. And they actually made a video of it. Like the girl on ESPN was talking, this is the first time ever that South Carolina's ever worn game sheets, playlists and stuff like that. That in itself is a little creepy to me. Okay.
Yeah. That's fair.
The video of this guy going to different stadiums and being in, and there's evidence of him in being 13 stadiums. There is evidence of him being at Penn State. There is evidence of him, having other people and how they did it and stuff like that is the one person would sit behind the Penn State's bench, one person would sit behind Ohio State's bench, and they would film across, and they would film as a fan, how does nobody sit there and say, you know what? There was that game last year. There was that weird guy sitting next to us, right? I mean, he videotaped the whole game. It was just really weird. See, that is cheating to me. That in itself is if you're going home and you have a play sheet. There's a picture of Harbaugh with the guy sitting next to him, and the little play sheet, the placard is blowing in the wind, and it's hand signals. And it's a lot of this little ticky-tack stuff that adds up to okay, like I said, is he at CMU? I don't know. Could it be him? Could it not be? Who the hell knows? But it's he's pimping himself out to beat Michigan State. I mean, come on, dude. I mean, I don't know what's going on there other than CMU having a couple Michigan guys on there.
Well, and I will say,
the weirdest thing that I have coming from it though is that guy Weiss, who got fired in the offseason in the summertime. Remember that the FBI raided his house? We didn't hear anything about that. Did you ever hear why he was stealing emails? Is what he was doing. He was the phishing scam or email. I think that's what they said they were doing. But I think that's how they found all this out. The FBI, has has that guy's computer with a whole thing on a whole compartment or whatever the hell you would call it, like on a storage of all of this stuff, and that's how they sort of have some of that information. And then the other one is, how the hell did Michigan look that bad against TCU last year? And TCU has come out and said that they were warned. TCU officials have come out and said they were warned that they had a guy on the sideline who would steal signs. So they made all their brand new signs and dummied them all up, and they put, 40 points in the first half? Or like quick on them? I mean, again, if you're sitting there waiting on run and you're playing run, and then they throw a pass, and then Michigan looked completely like out of sorts in that game.
That's
completely out of
an
sorts.
understatement. Yeah,
an understatement is this. Yeah,
yeah.
And then TCU go out the next week and lose 65-7.
Yeah, that's all.
Okay, so you say you go into 2020 and say Jimmy Harbaugh's he quit the season because of COVID. He said we had outbreaks and this and that because there was no fans allowed in the stands.
Yeah,
they were going to fire him, and he says I will take half my salary. And then all of a sudden in 2021, 2022, and 2023, they come out with this monster defense that they have now. I'm just saying there's a lot of different points, a lot of different things out there. Again, if a tenth of these or a quarter of those are correct, it's cheating, in my opinion. That's using technology to cheat, and that's a complete no-no. Everybody knows you do not go to away games to do live scouting. I mean, I know it's the high school thing to do. You know what I mean? That's what they do because –
and we could argue about whether or not that it was a cost-cutting move with the money that's involved now in college athletics. I mean, I do think it's a fair and debatable point as to whether or not this rule should be in existence. If a team wants to go send a staffer or a couple of staffers,
but I think with the rule, they did that because they outlawed it because the other teams can't afford it.
Correct. Yeah. But guess what?
But they also
there are teams that can't afford the renovations to their stadium that Penn State is doing. There are teams that can't afford the recruiting budget that Penn State and Michigan and Ohio State have. There are teams. So I get it, and I'm not coming down strongly one way or the other. I'm saying there are a bunch of places where we're like, well, yeah, but that that's just you. To keep up with the Joneses, you have to do this. Right, there are a lot of schools that don't hire the consultants that Penn State has because they can't afford it. No. Well, the NCAA, could come in and say legally you can't have consultants. Now, do I think a lot of these teams will figure out a way to, we don't have an official consultant in the house, but my buddy Jimmy that follows, I'm going to make a phone call. So you're going to end up with gray areas on a bunch of stuff. I also do think now we are having a consistent pattern here with Michigan, and it does make me wonder, okay, these are a couple of things now that we have found out about. Again, and you may be swinging me more over to this being a greater violation than what I'm initially interpreting it as, but it makes me wonder how much other stuff Harbaugh and Michigan are doing. Because usually if you are somebody that is bending the rules and you're pushing, and this isn't bending, this is flat out breaking. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. This isn't, we thought we could take another step closer to the line of scrimmage. There's some fine line areas. That isn't this. This is clearly violating the rules that are in the books.
It goes even deeper.
But it makes me wonder, Goon, how many other things really that they are doing. And I don't even know. I'm not thinking of anything specific. But generally, if this is a pattern. This is a program, again, me speaking, that I think clearly has a disregard for the rules that are in place. And it really does make me wonder how many other things are going on at Michigan. Maybe there's nothing else going on. Maybe there's a bunch of other things going on. But now the door is open, I think, fairly to wondering aloud, all right, what the hell else is Michigan getting away with?
Yeah, here? I went when it first came out, which was that Thursday before our Ohio State game, we were talking about it. And I was like, everybody does it. It's all good, yada, yada, yada. But it's like I go back to that, and it's just like, what else are they doing? So they get to that point where it was desperation time for Jimmy Boy out there.
Yeah.
And I have friends on both sides. I have friends at Ohio State and I have friends in Michigan. And just deal with it. Just make it fair. That's all I freaking ask. Don't be cheating. That's all, as an athlete and as a guy. Okay? So Jim Harbaugh and Michigan will not go down without a fight. And I'm going to tell you that if they're accusing Ohio State of releasing all of this stuff when John Bacon has already come out and said, and John Bacon is the foremost guy him very well.
Yep.
The foremost guy in Michigan
guy.
historian. A wonderful guy.
Great
author.
And a great
wonderful person.
Yep.
Did us very well with the O'Brien era and stuff like that. And he has come out and said it's a man on the board of regents named Singleton, I believe, something like that, he hates Jim Harbaugh. So
at Michigan, Board of Regents at Michigan.
Michigan fans are automatically saying, "Oh, that's just him going at the vendetta against Jimmy." So they're going to make excuses. But I'm going to tell you that if something happens to Harbaugh in this program, which I'm not telling you, Jeff, they may shut it down. I'm telling you, it's something that crazy that you're bringing Las Vegas into this now, bud. If you're manipulating and cheating on games, you're cheating them. And guess who doesn't get happy then? That's when so really weird people get very mad. But it's something as crazy as that, as the not point shaving, but if you have an unfair advantage and you're exploiting and you're beating the line 85% of the time, the spreads, it's like, wow. But to finish the point, and that is that if Michigan thinks that Ohio State's the ones behind this, giving all this information out, Michigan will not go down quietly. They will go down with every ounce of information they have against Ohio State. And I'm just going to say it's going to get ugly. They're going to accuse them. They'll probably accuse us of some stuff. They'll probably accuse every team in the world. Because if they're going to go down and burn, they're going to try and burn everybody with them.
And the truth is, I remember, I don't remember the exact, it was one of the bowl press conferences. And it may have even been, Joe Paterno used to do the morning after the bowl game. He wouldn't allow cameras in, but he would just have a sit-down discussion with reporters.
Yeah.
Yep. And it may have been in one of those, but it may have been in just one of the routine press conferences too. But he was pretty open at saying, "Listen, do I think we make an earnest effort to do things by the rules? Yep. We also do everything we can within the rules as we understand them to get advantages. I mean, we'll go back and look at tape, incessantly to see, wait, if this guy picks up here, right? I mean, famously, I forget now what game it was, but right, the one guard, an opponent would tip off whether it was a run play or pass play.
Yep.
So, but Paterno said, listen, there are so many alumni, there are so many things going on around a football program. We'll preach everything right, but can I sit here and tell you that, every player and every coach, we are doing everything exactly by the rules of the NCAA? No, in fact, I could pretty much guarantee you we're not. He goes, I might be doing something. That book is so thick and so hard to read. He goes, are we honestly trying to do everything the right way? Yes, but I can't sit here and tell you that even I am by the letter of the law doing everything. So, and I get that, and I've respected him for it. And I do think, I think James Franklin, by and large, from everything we can ascertain, I think is trying to do things the right way. Do I think it's possible Penn State has violated some NCAA rules? Yeah, I'd almost guarantee it, because again, my guess is every team, unintentionally or intentionally, and some of the stuff, it's just like, if you ask me, Ironhead, are you somebody that abides by the law? Yes. Have you ever crossed against a green light? Well, yes. Oh, I thought you were a law-abiding. So, and we're all going to draw the lines at different places. Have I ever been speeding? Yep, I have. Do I think you should speed? Nope, I don't. And different people are going to draw the line at different places. Oh, wow, come on. I mean, this isn't a big deal. This isn't a big deal. That is
trying, all
right.
That stuff. Yep.
So, but to me, this one, in everything we're hearing, and I hear what you're saying. I think you're right. Harbaugh is going to go down at least swinging and throwing out. And my guess is there's probably some stuff there. I will say, we hear rumors all of the time, and they are rumors about what's happening in the wrestling world. And I talk with other reporters and media members, and, hey, we hear this is going on at Penn State. I'm like, well, it's not. Like, I'm around it every day. Well, I heard this is going on at Iowa. I really doubt it. I mean, I don't know. I'm not around it. And I'll talk to, people associated with the various programs, and generally there's a lot more speculation, and I think there's a lot more suspicion of cheating. I think kind of like what happens in politics. Republicans and Democrats are both convinced absolutely the other side is cheating. That's the way. And listen, do I think there's probably some here and there going on both sides? Yep. My guess is that there is. I don't think it's widespread, and I don't think there's as widespread cheating in college football as some would have you believe. But by the letter of the law, do I think most, if not all, programs have probably had some violations? Yes, because some of the stuff is inevitable. And again, we're going to draw the lines at different places. Some people are, Michigan fans are going to tell you this isn't a big deal. I kind of thought it wasn't a big deal after listening to you. I'm thinking it's a bigger deal than what I thought it was.
It's like a team full of steroid abusers. You know what I mean? I'm not going to bullshit you. I mean, we played Northwestern. BS. Sorry, apologize. We played Northwestern my senior year, and it came out that a lot of those guys were beaming, and then it was just like, man, are you kidding me? You know what I mean? It was like you suspected it because, like, you played against the same guys 1 year before, and then 1 year later, you're like, dude, where did you come from? Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, wow, you're so much bigger, stronger, and you're totally faster than you were last year. But I mean, that's cheating. Okay, but if it's a concerted effort amongst everybody knows about it. But that's the other thing. I mean, when you have a conspiracy like this, you can't tell me that there's not some disgruntled player from 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Who's not going to come out and say, absolutely, they were doing that. And you haven't heard that. So, I mean, that's where I'm on, I'm on the fence either way. But if it does come true that he was doing this, and a lot of the evidence is saying that, and they're just going to say, he clearly was. Michigan was clearly doing it. The notion that Jim Harbaugh, that this could have been going on as long as it, I think, pretty clearly now was, and that Jim Harbaugh would have absolutely this is completely foreign news to him. I mean, it's absurd. It is absurd. Do you think that James Franklin knows every person on his sideline? And that's an honest question. Now, don't just say James. Do you think Mike Locksley at Maryland knows every person? I think they do. I really think that they do. And he can't sit there and say, why is this guy here with the OC? There's nobody who goes to the DC and the OC. There's nobody who does that in no sport, in no.
You're not. I mean, yes. To answer your question, yes,
it's a rather important.
I do. And if there is somebody on the sideline that they're like, they are asking somebody, right? It's like, hey, what's this guy doing here?
Why is Central Michigan one to me? It's like there's a guy on the sideline, and they can't come out and say, well, that's Jimmy. That's Jimmy, our athletic trainer. They haven't done that.
Yes,
and that's crazy to me. But even Jim Harbaugh, if this guy Stallion is with the DC. When the defense is on the field and is with the OC when the offense is on the field, that's weird. That is odd. That in itself. You better know. How does Jim Harbaugh not talk to his – he's on a headset. Who the hell's talking on the headset? Who was that? Yeah, he has the same headset on.
Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. It just does not – there is no way he didn't know this was occurring. And again, I think you could have come out and said – listen, yes, we probably shouldn't have done this. I mean, I think you could have handled it.
It is a super gray area, and that probably would have been easier for them to do that.
Yeah, in our mind, it was a super gray area. Like, you could have said that, but to just flat out deny
the same year.
Yes,
and he was suspended for lying about something.
And again, to me. Now it's been a pattern, and you go back to some of the recruiting stuff, and it's like, again, we're in some gray areas there. It's just a consistent thing now where it's like, okay, we have somebody that is not respecting the rules of the game. And more than that, when he's caught, the initial inclination is to, I was going to say mislead. That's not the inclination. The inclination is to lie, to flat out deny something that you know is true and that you knew about.
It's nuts,
and that to
Crazy
me
to think about, bud.
is at least as big, if not the bigger problem, is that this guy can't own up to the mistakes that he clearly was making, if you want to call it a mistake.
It's very weird.
We'll take a break here. We are back with more of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on a Tuesday after this.
Coast into fall with a new Kia from Lion Country Kia. Right now, get a 24 Kia Seltos for 5.25% APR for up to 48 months. A new Sportage plug-in hybrid at 0.9% APR. Check out our 23 Sorento hybrid for as low as 4.5% APR. And don't forget, all 2023 and 2024 Kias come with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty. Stop in and meet with one of our sales experts today and coast into fall at Lion Country Kia. We want to see you in a Kia.
Since retiring, I have spent my time searching the countryside for the hottest wings in America. I always seem to end up disappointed. You call these hot? Back off, Luigi.
Mamma mia.
Look, hands it, busboy. Your wings suck! I knew I should have stuck with Quaker Steak's triple atomic wings. You think I'm tough enough?
The Center Hall Farm Store has been serving Center County and beyond for well over a half century. A small family business, the Center Hall Farm Store specializes in animal nutrition and manufactures its feed fresh using local ingredients. Get the best in horse, cow, pig, chicken, and bird feeds. If you're not already a customer, stop in and see why so many of your neighbors are. The Center Hall Farm Store at 110 West Allison Street in Center Hall, or call us at 814-364-1393.
Sioka Toyota of Williamsport invites you to stop in today or check us out online. We have the smart path to your next Toyota, like the all-new Crown, BZ4X, the all-new Grand Highlander, Corolla Cross Hybrids, Sequoias, and more. Over 100 new Toyotas here and on the way. Don't make a $1,000 mistake. Choose Sioka Toyota of Williamsport and see the Sioka dealership's difference. Buy or reserve yours today and see for yourself why Sioka Toyota is the only stop you need for your next new car. Sioka Toyota, it just feels right.
Ready to be part of something bigger? Come pave the road to success at Glen Baker and discover a career where your hard work and determination can build a bigger, better future. Our team believes we can build a stronger future together. Join us at Glen Baker, where we value teamwork on the field and on the job. Go to GOHcareers.com to apply. GOHcareers.com. And best of luck to all the Center County sports teams all season long from everyone at Glen Baker.
The Goon and Ironhead.
To the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here on a Tuesday afternoon, and Quaker Steak and Lube, the place to be. You can come on down and watch the beloved Steelers whip up on Will Levis and the Titans. Will Levis with quite the performance here on Sunday. Actually, they're showing it.
Would you like to have DeAndre Hopkins as your I would throw the ball up to him.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
I would risk a couple of passes down the middle of the field to throw to DeAndre Hopkins. So I loved how Levis was after the game. Did you see it with his family?
I did.
And that's what it's all about right there.
Amen.
You know?
No, very easy kid to root for. Obviously, I think I don't know any Penn Staters that don't love the kid and wished him well. And obviously went on and has had tremendous success both at the collegiate and now very early at the pro level. And I will say he on a short week
playing against that defense could be a tough one.
It could be, but I'm telling you, Goon, that is the type of quarterback that can give even the best defenses problems. He is a physical, quick runner, along with obviously the ability to get the ball down the field. We'll find out a lot more about Will Levis in a short week. You know, I don't love it coming off of a loss for the Steelers, although I have a buddy that's like, no, that's the best thing. You want to get that game in your rearview mirror against Jacksonville as quickly as possible. I understand the perspective there, but only 3 days to get ready. And listen, you can play it both ways because, yes, Will Levis only has 3 days to get ready for one of the better defenses in the NFL. But the Steelers also only have 3 days and one game tape to really get ready for Will Levis.
Yeah, usually these defense coordinators, they would feast on a guy like Will Levis because, a rookie guy, they're going to go out. He's going to have a couple great games and this and that, and then they're going to dial in on what he doesn't do well and then attack it.
Yeah.
You got 3 days to figure this out with Will Levis.
Yeah, and if assuming Minka doesn't play, which I'm kind of assuming, we'll see.
It looked bad. I thought it looked bad.
Yeah, this is a worrisome game, and it feels like this is a pivotal game, Goon, because the good thing about having those Thursday games is then again, if you get this win and. Capital I, capital F again, but if you get this win, right, then. You kind of feel like, okay, we're kind of back where, given the way we've played to this point of the season, 5-3 is pretty reasonable place to be. We have a little time to get ready. You feel, I think, good, if not great, about the overall picture here. You lose this game, and now you're salty for a long period of time, and it feels like this season may be getting away from you, right? You're 4-4 in a division where 4-4
Baltimore
is putting you, 2.5 games out of first place. It's just a tough spot to be in if you're the Steelers. So, I'm not going to say at this stage of the season, I don't think it's a true must win, but boy, this feels like a really critical game for the Steelers, especially because of what happened in Jacksonville and because of what Will Levis did on Sunday. This is both a worrisome and, I think, a tremendously important game for my beloved Steelers.
Dare I say huge?
The Commanders,
dare I say huge,
on the other hand, after losing to the Eagles, they're all in on making a playoff push here, Goon. They are just doing everything they can to try to make sure they get to the top of the NFC East. Do you read it any other way?
I got to say, we'll get
they are trading away seemingly every significant player. Chase Young, the most notable, but the Commanders are clearly in sell mode, and they're building for the future is what we call that.
And it's done. So Young goes from his hometown of D.C. They get shipped out to the 49ers, who they really need another pass rusher out there? I watched their game the other day. They had Randy Gregory they just picked up, who was historically for the Cowboys, and they went to Denver, and Denver got rid of him. By the way, how about Denver coming out the other night and just clobbering Kansas City?
I am telling you.
They got rid of Randy Gregory, and they got rid of another defensive player. I don't know if those two were cancerous type of players or whatever, but they seem to be a whole different team out there this past Sunday.
Yeah, the NFL, listen, we talk about, and week to week in college and the NFL.
Anybody.
And I know Penn State fans are frustrated, and you feel like the world has caved in, and there's no chance for Penn State after these last 2 weeks. And again, I'm not. I'd love to sit here and boldly predict that Penn State runs the table and they're going to be fine. I certainly have my doubts about the Michigan game, but I will say it is college athletics, man, and we see weird things happen all the time. You look at Oklahoma. The number of teams. USC was lucky to win this week against a Cal team that is down, and they've obviously lost a couple now. And perspective is important. And I know every fan gets myopic about their team, and I do the same thing with the Steelers. And but when you step back and look big picture, again, what James Franklin is doing is remarkable, and it is impressive overall, his tenure here at Penn State. Yes, to Denny's point earlier, his note to us, they've been playing not to lose instead of winning. I do think that's the right way to, again, put it succinctly, what it took me half an hour to address. But yes, I think that is basically it, is that they go into these games. It's like, let's not lose. Let's give ourselves a chance instead of let's go out and take this baby. Right? Like, and again, there's that fine line. I'm not saying you go out there and it's just you chuck it up every play. And right, I mean, I get it. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying you don't preach taking care of the football. I'm not saying you take unnecessary risks. But I think to win big, you do have to take. I think it is necessary to take risks, not to take unnecessary risks. But I do think you have to take some risks over the course of 4 quarters to win on the big stage. And I think that is part of what has happened here with Penn State. Now, I also think Ohio State and Michigan are really, really good football teams.
Yes, they are.
And as I mentioned last week, I do wonder how different the narrative would be if Kirby Smart and Nick Saban and Georgia and Alabama were playing each year, every season, in the regular season. There's at least a few more dings on one of those resumes, if not both of those resumes. And while we would still look at them as both great teams, great programs, and they are, nobody's saying they wouldn't be top 5, top 3 programs, even with a couple of more losses in there to each other especially, but it would be a little different.
Yeah, I mean, think about this.
Do you think, Jim Harbaugh would be viewed differently at Michigan if they, he was 2-2 and they didn't play the 3 other years? Well, yeah, you'd look at him a lot differently in terms of his overall tenure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, Jeff, this conversation is moot next year when we go to the 12
it is.
Or 16, 12-team playoff.
Yep.
So, I mean, you got to be in the top 12. I mean, we would have been there 6 of the last 10 years.
Yep.
And then we're
it's
sitting there
going to
saying,
be,
wow, you got to roll it out there.
And then the question is going to be, okay, are you – and it will be interesting. Let's say – we'll see how it plays out. But let's say over a 10-year period, you get to the playoffs 7 times. I'm talking Penn State.
Yeah.
Penn State fans, Penn State's perspective on where we think Penn State should be in the overall scheme of college football. Say Penn State gets there over the next decade. Starting next year, you go to the next 10 years. Say Franklin's here all 10 years. I know some people are cringing. Others are rejoicing, whatever. Let's say they get to the playoffs 7 times. They win 2 Big Ten titles, and they get to the semifinals twice and the championship game once and lose. Pretty darn good in the overall scheme of things, right? No national titles. Wow. I mean, for crying out loud, it's 20 years and no national titles. You came here to win a national title. Well, a lot of teams, a lot of coaches are trying to win national titles.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's
One each year gets to do it, and you happen to be living in an era where Kirby Smart and Nick Saban and, Jim Harbaugh and now Ryan Day or, Urban Meyer previously are all in that mix too. I don't know. It's interesting to see. Again, do I want to see James Franklin and Penn State win national titles? Do I want to see them be what Ohio State has been over the last decade in the next decade? Absolutely. Sign me up. I'm all for it. But it's hard, man. Florida, LSU, Tennessee, Auburn, they're all trying to do that in the SEC. Like that, they are driven to do it. Kentucky's trying to do it.
Missouri.
Mississippi State's trying to do it. Missouri. Now you've got Texas and Oklahoma coming in. In the Big Ten, Wisconsin, Nebraska is they are doing everything they can to try to get in that upper rung.
By the way, they're coming around, aren't they?
They are. I am
our boy.
Yep. I'm really interested to see both how they finish up this season. And then the thing I'm really curious about is what happens in the transfer portal for Nebraska going into next year and what that recruiting class looks like. I mean, there's not any margin for error. I'm going to say not much. There's no margin for error right now. If you're one of the programs trying to make a move up in the Big Ten, because again, Ohio State, Penn State, we'll see how everything works out with the NCAA. But for the moment, I don't think Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan are going anywhere. I think Washington and Oregon are programs that are built for long-term success. They may have a down year. I mean, I haven't specifically sat down and looked at the rosters the whole way through for next year. USC obviously always has high expectations. I will say it is going to be interesting to see, one, if Lincoln Riley is there next year, and two, if not, or even if he is, what that program looks like in terms of the transfer portal will be interesting to watch there, whether it's they are a win or a lose overall next year. But USC certainly has high expectations, deep pockets as well. And then again, I think you have three programs in the West right now that are really interesting watches with Wisconsin, Iowa, and Minnesota. All clearly need to make a big step forward to try to stay in the mix for Big Ten title contention now. Moving forward. And then you have a school like Nebraska, a school like Maryland, a school like Rutgers, all trying, UCLA, all trying to, hey, can we make that next big jump and at least get into the upper half? Because I'm telling you, getting into the upper half right now is not going to be easy with the seven schools the six, Penn State, Michigan, Ohio State, and then Oregon, Washington, USC. And then again, if depending on where you come down with Wisconsin, Iowa, Minnesota.
Don't question. Next year's Big Ten title is going to be like the SEC or the Big 12, and that's going to be the top two teams are playing?
That is that is not officially set. That is what everybody is presuming, and that certainly seems to be what the Big Ten is indicated.
They can't have conferences because we already found out we're not playing Ohio State.
Correct. I mean, I guess, do we have an official statement saying that's the case? No. Is that what's going to happen? Yes.
And
listen,
in 1 year from now, we're just sitting here saying, okay, let's get through these last 3 or 4 games. Let's get a couple wins and get to the playoffs.
Well, it's going to be interesting, too, if with the who gets to the Big Ten championship game, what if
this year
you have, but next year, if you have 4 teams that all have 1 loss and they haven't played, right? I mean, it's going to come down to rankings and strength of schedule and
that's my question
to
you, Jeffrey. Do you know if we beat Michigan, Ohio State loses to Michigan, we all have 1 loss? Who goes to represent the East?
Right now, you
know this. Thank God.
Well, the next criteria, so there's a bunch of criteria. The one that most likely it'll come down to is record, strength of schedule, actually, of the opponents you played in the West. And right now, that the Ohio State weekend was disastrous for Penn State because not only did Penn State lose to Ohio State, all 3 West Division opponents, Northwestern, Illinois, and Iowa, all lost that weekend as well. With that, and I forgot to look. I will have that for Thursday. Going into this past weekend, Michigan, I think it was Michigan and Penn State were tied. The West opponents had identical records, cumulative records.
Even though they played Notre Dame,
it might have been
nothing to do with it, right?
No, This is Big Ten.
All right.
I'll double check. It might have been Ohio State and Penn State that were tied. I know Penn State was tied with one of them. I'm thinking it was Michigan, but I could be wrong on that. And then the other one was, I think, 2 games off at that moment. Now, again, I didn't thoroughly. Obviously, Northwestern winning would help Penn State this past weekend. I'm trying to think, did Iowa? What Iowa did. Iowa won.
Yeah, and then they fired Brian Ferentz.
Which probably a little too late. But right. Illinois, did they?
Illinois beat Maryland.
Okay.
No, that was Northwestern beat Maryland. Illinois.
Well, and so Penn
got
State
you.
got at least 2 wins. So it was a good, much better weekend anyway for
Northwestern.
Penn State.
So our 3 are Northwestern, Illinois, and Iowa, right?
Correct.
And Iowa they do not play Michigan or Ohio State, so that's not good. But is it West?
Well, but it is good for us, for Penn State in that, well, it's good if Iowa doesn't lose again the rest of the way, because that would be a difference maker. Could be the difference maker.
I'm thinking that in my head, I don't think Michigan played Wisconsin, and they don't play Iowa. I know they played Minnesota and Nebraska. That's some crap.
Well, and
this was
again,
Iowa's year to do
when
it,
you
be
go
honest
to
with
the
you.
18 teams, it's going to get even more
hectic, crazy.
And some of it's just going to be the luck of the draw, right? In a given season, where are you getting it in a year where somebody's up or down? Illinois lost to Wisconsin. That's right. That actually was
Wisconsin lost to Ohio
very
State.
very competitive game.
Illinois must head off.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, that was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Wisconsin lost to Ohio State.
Yeah. They did. They had last week off.
Yeah.
So 2-0.
Okay, so
week.
I finally. How was it so hard to figure that out? Nowhere does it say where to do that. And that was my prediction on 24/7. That was going to happen, by the way.
Yeah, Penn State beats Michigan, and then Michigan beats Ohio State.
Yep.
Listen, I think Michigan. I do think, and I'm in the minority on with my friend group. And listen, I freely admit I thought I was absolutely convinced Penn State was going to beat Ohio State. So I get it. Take take my thoughts with a grain of salt, as most of you will do. I really do give Penn State more than a fighter's chance against Michigan at Beaver Stadium. The Indiana game notwithstanding, Drew Aller has just been different at home than he has been on the road. I just think something clicked there at the end of that Indiana game.
I agree too, bud. That's not good. We agree.
Again, we'll see. I'm not ready to make a declarative statement about the offense now just being a high-powered, efficient attack moving forward, but I think I think they figured some things out there. Maybe a little too late for some of our taste, but I really do. And again, we'll find out over the next couple of weeks here in particular whether or not that actually is the case, or nope, they just made a couple of plays and that was it. But to me, there is an opportunity here to really let Drew Aller and the offense grow. I'm with you. They've got to get more push up front on the running game. Now, we talk all the time about football as kind of the ultimate team sport, and complementary football is critical. And yes, do I think part of the running game issues are that there is no respect for the deep pass by opposing defenses? I mean, there's no question. Defenses are stacking the line of scrimmage, and they are ready for Penn State's running attack. And the offensive line would be helped tremendously by getting some deep ball threat to the offense. So I do think that is a component, but it's also, again, they've got to just toughen up, buckle the chin strap, whatever cliche you want to use, and go get it done. Go be tougher than the guy across from you when you need to be.
Make it
and again, that's going to be easier to do against Maryland, certainly than it is against Michigan, which is a really physical team. Although I keep coming back to it, Goon, and maybe I'm making too much of it. And yes, Thomas, Ironhead jinx, bet the house on Michigan, fair. Although I'm not telling you that I'm predicting Penn State to win it. I'm just saying I think Penn State has a real shot. I really do at home. And one of the things is, Goon, again, Michigan has looked very impressive to this point in the season. But they played nobody. And when you play matters, right? Like Nebraska, I think by the end of the year here, that's going to be a good team. Not a national title contender, not a team that you say is top 10 worthy. But I think I think they are playing themselves into a good football team. They were not that when Michigan played them earlier this year.
You've been saying it all year
Minnesota,
about the Colorado team. Like the Nebraska that played Colorado is not going to be the one that's going to end the season.
Correct. Minnesota, kind of same thing. I think Minnesota's figured some things out actually after the Michigan game. So, when you play teams matters as well. And Michigan just has not played any top 25 teams yet, and they won't. And then you're coming into Beaver Stadium, and even with a noon kickoff, Beaver Stadium is a tough place to play. Now, again, the big question to me is, can Penn State, on the interior of the offensive and defensive line, hold up? They don't need to dominate, but you got to hold your own for 4 quarters, not for 2, not for 3. You got to be going toe-to-toe and not letting Michigan drive you at any point of the game consistently. And that is my big question, my big doubt for Penn State going into that
Get 100
game.
yards rushing, stop them from rushing.
We will talk much more, and we'll
Bob.
talk. We'll talk some World Series on Thursday as well.
What's that?
It's been actually a very entertaining World Series. Folks, have a great couple of days. We'll
Enjoy
talk to you
the
again
holiday.
on Thursday with another edition of the Lion Country Kia Goon and Ironhead show here at Quaker Steak and Lube. Until then, be good and be safe.